our second webinar, webcast, whatever you stream, we wanted to share a bunch of information that we had regarding travel nursing. We're both recruiters with about 5 years in the business. We have a lot of experience. We've talked to a lot of first-time travelers, and there's a lot of misinformation that gets construed to first-time travelers. So we've been kind of doing a series to make sure that people are getting the right information and that they're coming from a trusted source when they're starting their search. So last time we talked about first-time traveler tips and how to know if getting into travel nursing is the right thing for you and the right step for your career. And this week, I think we're talking about recruiters.
Yes, and it's going to be how and why to interview your recruiter. And with being a travel nurse, recruiters are your biggest advocate, especially on the road. They're going to be there if you have any problems, any issues. They're your first call. So you want to make sure you have a great recruiter on your side and it fits well with your personality. And when searching for a recruiter, you have to view this person as your team. Your team members, you're in this together. Even though they may not be on the road with you, they're with you in spirit. Yeah. And that's why it's so important. And there's hundreds of companies out there, thousands of recruiters, and to weed out, the ones that you don't want to work with and the ones that you do want to work with can be a little bit tricky. So we're going to try to, help sort that out for you and make sure that you have the right fit, that's someone that's knowledgeable, honest, and that you are working with the right company that fits your needs.
Your recruiter is going to be the most important thing on your assignment. They're going to make or break it, right up there with the location and everything like that. They're your communication to get your credentialing done, to get your housing settled if you have issues, anything like that. To talk about issues in the facility. And there are a lot of wonderful recruiters out there. There are also some of those who aren't that great. So that's what this is supposed to kind of help you weed out some of the people who may not be the right fit for you. And there may be wonderful recruiters that are great fit for some people, but they just might not be the right fit for you. Or they might work for an agency that's not the right fit for you or anything like that.
And that happens. It's, you might come across that more so than, often.
Yeah. And you always want to make sure you have more than one recruiter when you're starting your search. One of the main reasons you want to make sure that you can trust your recruiter and that they're being honest with you. And one of the main ways to do that is talk to a couple different people. Make sure that you are getting information that's true, that's honest, that they aren't trying to take advantage of you for being a first-time traveler, and that you're getting the most competitive pay packages and information that's correct and not misleading.
So now being first-time travel nurses, where should they start to find somebody, Rebecca? What would your best options be?
Well, there's quite a few ways that you can go. Probably the best option is you got to do your research before you talk to anybody live on the phone. Like Patrice said before, there's hundreds of companies. Each company has 10 to 50 recruiters, if not more. And you want to make sure that you're talking to the right recruiter with the right agency for you. You can research online. There are travel nurse websites, a ton of them out there that have, recruiter rankings, company rankings. There are message boards where you can get information about the recruiters. People can request, suggest their own and everything like that, which ties into the next one, which is personal referrals. If you have a friend who's traveled or taught about traveling or talked to recruiters, they may know somebody that they really liked and that they would request to you. So with that, you can go ahead and give them a call, start there. That might be a good starting point. that somebody else thought highly enough of them to refer them on to you. So that's usually a good place to kind of start as well. The other way that you can do it, it's got its pros and its cons. There are websites out there where you can register and it will submit your information to multiple agencies. There's quite a few out there. And it looks super appealing. You can fill out one application, one skills checklist. You don't have to keep doing the paperwork over and over again. And that is very convenient at the time. The one thing to keep in mind when you fill out this information, it's going to connect you with several recruiters, but it could connect you with up to 50, if not more recruiters, and they will all be calling you nonstop, emailing you, texting you. You're going to be hounded for a while, and not just for the first couple weeks, but
it's going to last for a couple months, and
if not forever, as long as you have that phone number.
And it can get confusing when you have so many people calling you. Well, then who's who? Everyone's name just starts to, mesh together, and everyone sounds the same. And you want to make sure that you're dealing with the companies that you want to deal with.
Mm-hmm. So it definitely has its pros and cons. It's nothing that we would say shy away from. If you feel like you're ready for that and you want to have a lot of agencies contacting you about jobs, by all means, that's a great way to go about it. Another way that you can start your search is look for specialty-specific agencies. There are some out there, especially for the highly specialized nurses, like dialysis, like OR. There's a lot of agencies that will specialize in those. I know with Fortis, we actually started off specializing in dialysis for a long time. And, you know, dialysis is one of those industries where there's not that many companies left. There's a bunch of clinics, but they're all kind of monopolized. So if you're working with an agency that has a high dialysis presence and you're a dialysis nurse, that may be where you want to focus, because you know you're going to get a lot of the dialysis openings. And the same exact thing for OR. There's some companies that specialize in ambulatory surgery centers, that specialize in OR in general, hospital OR, anything like that. So that can be sometimes be a good spot to start as well.
Absolutely.
And once you start talking to your recruiter, there's several questions that you'll definitely want to ask right off the bat to make sure that not only you'll kind of get a feel for if the recruiter is the right fit for you just from your conversation and seeing how that goes, but the other thing, you want to make sure the agency is the right fit for you. You may love your recruiter, but the agency may not operate the way that you would like, or may have policies that you don't want in an agency.
So you might, want to ask, within the first couple conversations, after you get to know the recruiter, where they work, everything like that. Insurance is always a huge one.
Yeah, definitely.
Some companies, most of them actually start day one insurance. So your first day of your contract, you have insurance if you opt in. Other companies may make you wait 90 days. So your assignment's over before you
by the time you can get insurance.
So,
I just talked to somebody who had signed up for an agency, and that was what she had gotten herself into. And if you need insurance, I mean, and all of us do pretty much, you want to make sure that you're not getting yourself into a situation that could affect you later on. The other big thing is the payroll department. How often are you getting paid? Is it weekly? Is it bi-weekly? How are your pay packages being broken down? There are some agencies who will do kind of a cookie cutter package. This is what we offer for all the nurses here. A lot of agencies will do them individualized. Some of the questions that we get asked a lot from, first-time travelers or even seasoned travelers: do you offer bonuses, sign-on bonuses, completion bonuses, what have you? Some agencies offer them every single assignment you may get them. Some agencies will do it individualized. Most likely if you're getting an agency bonus, it's probably coming out of another area of your pay package. We'll do another podcast all about pay, because that's another huge discussion. But, you want to make sure you know kind of where things are coming from. And the main thing is, when you're looking at pay packages, there's no one way to do every single person. So you want to see kind of how they work that and how they get around that and whatnot. And you want to make sure you're getting the best, the best deal for yourself too, obviously.
Absolutely. And another thing to ask is, where do they commonly staff? Some agencies only work with, in 5 states. Others work in all 50.
Yeah. And there's certain companies that will only work right in their local area. And even if somebody works in all 50 states, there are going to be each company is going to have an area that they do a lot of business in. No company does equal amounts of business in every single state. And every company will specialize in kind of different areas. So if you really wanted to get to Denver, Colorado, and your recruiter says that they really don't ever place people there, which very well may be the truth, then it may not be the right agency for that assignment, which is why it's good to have a couple of recruiters in your pocket anyway to be able to get to the areas you want to go for. Meanwhile, that agency that you're talking to that doesn't staff in Denver, they may really staff a lot in California, and that's also where you want to go, so you can kind of keep them for down the line. The other thing you'll want to ask is what their application process is like. Some agencies will have you send everything, all of your paperwork that you would need before you start an assignment, before they'll even talk to you about jobs. Some agencies will only require a resume. Some agencies will talk to you about jobs without having anything. They'll let you know exactly what the pay is and exactly what the job entails. So you want to find out what their application process is, what you'd have to send in, and how will you know about the jobs that they have open. There's some agencies that you will just have to go on their website and look it up and kind of do your own search. Some agencies will call you when they get jobs, most of them will, or text or what have you.
So you want to see how they communicate, what, works best with you. If you're mostly on your phone and a text message of a job is easier if you're working, and that's how they do it, that might be a good fit for you to find out about the jobs.
That's the other thing to let your recruiter know, is how do they prefer to communicate and how do you prefer to communicate. If you are an email only person, you're going to want to let them know. If you are you only want to hear pay packages on the phone, you only communicate via text, or if you like a combination, most people like a combination of all three. And realistically, once you start traveling, you're going to have to be available by any way. but just let them know what your most preferred way is, and most recruiters will adhere to that. And the other thing you want to know, once you're on the road, your agency, you're directly tied to them. I mean, everything, any emergencies you have for housing or personal or anything like that, you're going to have to let your agency know about. So something to ask is, how quickly will you respond to me if I have an emergency? Or even if I don't, if I'm just calling to say hello, how often do you, when will you call back? What are your hours of operation? And what are your after hours policies? What if I have an emergency at 3 a.m? Who do I call? Do you have somebody on call 24/7? All of those sort of things.
Some companies have hotlines that you call in. So you might not be talking to your direct recruiter, but there's someone from that company that you would be talking to that's going to help troubleshoot whatever going on.
And while you're going through all these conversations, you're having all of these questions, you're asking and learning a lot about the company. What do you think that people should be on the lookout for with their recruiter? What should you be listening for and trying to tell when you're talking to someone?
I would definitely say that you want to look to make sure that your recruiter isn't talking as much as you. You want to make sure that they're listening to what you're saying. So a good rule is the 80-20 rule, that as the traveler, you're talking 80% of the time, the recruiter's talking 20%. So they're absorbing what you say, so they understand what exactly you're looking for.
And that way they're not presenting jobs that aren't even a good fit for you.
Yeah, you want to make sure, it's in your area. Say, you're a med-surg nurse and it's a tele position. Obviously there was some miscommunication in there.
Or if you don't want to do on call, and that's a deal breaker, you want to make sure they know about that. If there's a certain shift you will only work, you want to make sure they know about that. And you want to make sure when they are talking that you feel that they're being honest, that you like their personality, you're getting along with them, you have good rapport. And more than anything, you just want to make sure that you're compatible with this person, and that you feel like they're watching out for you, they're listening to what you're saying, and you just kind of have that gut feeling that, okay, this is somebody that I could trust. And something else to watch out for when you talk to somebody, you want to make your request. Can you email me over your application link, your, whatever, this pay package for this assignment? How quickly do they do that? Do they do it at all? Are they going to call you back when they say they're going to? And if they don't, are they going to shoot you a text or let them know why they couldn't? Are they following up on what they're saying they're going to do? These things before you start an assignment are it'll foreshadow what you'd be expecting on an assignment.
Absolutely. And see, some other things to look for that could be a little bit of a red flag, and a way to weed out different recruiters is if they always say yes. And I know that might seem a little strange to hear. Of course, you want to hear yes for anything that you ask for, but you want to make sure that they can give bad news too. Unfortunately, things don't always go as planned. There's always going to be someone up against the job with you. You might not always get that first job that you want, that you are hoping for. And your recruiter has to be the one to say, I'm sorry, they went with somebody else. Let's look at our other options. They have to give the bad news, because if they keep saying, well, yes, it's still open when it's really closed, you're waiting for no position. So, and it's your livelihood. So you want to make sure you have the income coming in. Or if they say, yes, the hospital will make sure that you're working 36 hours instead of 40, or yes, the hospital is going to increase its rates, everything like that. You want to make sure that your recruiter is being honest with you. And sometimes hospitals and companies can't bend on certain things, guarantees, wages. When it's maxed out, there's really not a lot of that wiggle room. So if they can say no to you, that definitely shows their honesty to you, and that they're looking out for your best interest.
And the other thing with pay packages too, if you are asking, can I have a bonus? Can I have an extra stipend money? And they keep saying yes, yes, yes. That just means they were being honest from the beginning and they were withholding money.
So, and it also goes both ways too. If a recruiter offers you a pay package and you don't think it's good enough, or the area isn't where you want to be, tell them, be honest with them. Don't keep saying yes and then interview and then, accept the position, being very hesitant. And then it's going to, 3 weeks into the assignment, you're not loving being there. You're not loving the pay package. You have to be able to say no too if it's something that you're not looking for. And hopefully then they can, either come to a middle ground or find something else that works for your best needs.
Well, that pretty much sums up what we would have this week, and I'm losing my voice, so.
So that pretty much sums up. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in our group chat right now or email us. Our email address is info@fortisgroup.com. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Our tagline is @Fortis Resources, so feel free to check us. We'll be here next Thursday, and we're actually going to have a special guest. One of our recruiters, who is also a former traveler, will be talking about traveling with the family, so I know that will interest a lot of you. So definitely come watch it, and if you have any questions in the meantime or any ideas, please let us know, and we can't wait to see you guys next week.
We'll see you next week. Have a good rest of the week, guys.